So welcome everybody. It's a testament to, I guess, our times at the moment that we're all, so excited to see each other's faces, even if it is on Zoom, and just loving the opportunity to say hi to everyone. So thank you all for joining us for our AGM, although it is on Zoom. And I want to start first by acknowledging the traditional owners of the beautiful land that I am on today, and that Holdsworth is lucky enough to work on and be part of, the Gadigal of the Eora Nation. And I want to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I am actually at Gaydon today, so that's so we are masked up with myself, Lynn and Jay. So we're masked up when we're not speaking. I want to in addition to welcoming everyone, and it's just so lovely to see the community together, even though online, but I do want to acknowledge some special guests this afternoon. I want to thank Dave Sharma for attending, the federal member for Wentworth. Hi, Dave.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Ruth.
I also would like to thank Gabrielle Upton, New South Wales member for Vaucluse. I'm not sure if she's here yet, but for her support in the event. I would like to, we have apologies from the Mayor of Willara, Susan Wynne, but she sends her best wishes. Thank you, Paula Massalos, Mayor of Waverley. Thank you for attending. And thank you very much to Willara councillors who are also here today, Councillor Price and Councillor Regan. Thank you for attending and your support. As I said, it's unusual to have it on Zoom, and it's usually an opportunity for our community to get together and catch up and share celebrations of the year that's been. But it's almost as good on Zoom, and it's really great to see everyone here. Today we do actually have a special guest who will be talking to us and sharing some of his experiences with Holdsworth and his connections with Holdsworth. His name is Richard Super. Richard, welcome. Thank you very much for giving your time to speak with us today. Richard was born in Melbourne, but moved to Sydney for his work as a national and international business consultant. Richard is a proud father of 2 children and 4 grandchildren. Since retiring, Richard's health has declined, but he is supported on a weekly basis by Holdsworth support worker Lewis under our Commonwealth Home Support Program. So Richard, if you're happy, we'd love to hear a bit about you and your life and your experiences.
And yeah, thanks. Thanks, Richard. We might get you to come off mute, and I think we were going to do a bit of a double act, weren't we?
Yeah.
So
right now?
Yes, you're all good. So hi everyone. My name's Wendy Francis, and I'm the manager of services for older people at Holdsworth Community. And yeah, we're really privileged to be supporting Richard to help him remain at home. And as Ruth said, Richard's very, very kindly agreed just to share some of his insights and experiences of working in partnership with Holdsworth. So Richard, maybe a good place to start is actually what prompted you in the beginning to actually seek support from an organisation like Holdsworth Community? What was the beginning of your journey?
Well, having been very active in business until a couple of years ago, when my health declined, surprisingly, and knowing about Holdsworth, having previously owned private hospitals some years ago in Sydney, I was familiar with Holdsworth transport facilities, which were invaluable and continue to be so. And I was probably at a bit of a loss once I started dialysis earlier this year, and it changes your life, I must admit. And so having not been associated with health services and so I needed to find myself, needed to make arrangements to get up to the school, to the St Hospital, and to also find things that would fill my day in. I started to feel lost, and because didn't know how my life would change, and I needed support there. I wasn't walking because I was breathless, and I was not doing any exercises. I was just really trying to fill in the day. And by grace of God, at St Vincent's Hospital, somebody said to me, why don't you try the aged care services at Holdsworth? I said, I didn't know they had anything other than the transport services or anything else. And so I thought about it and thought, oh, well, you know, that's all it is. I'll leave it go. Right. Thank God somebody rang me and gave me a push and says, why don't you come and have a chat to us, or let us come and have a chat to you, and found the facilities which have changed my life. I have to say that the human resources people at Holdsworth, who sent me so far 2 remarkable people who have absolutely swung my whole life around and given me more of a purpose. And for that, I'm eternally grateful to them. I think you're a hidden identity that should be publicised if you can do it. And if Mr. Sharma is there, he pushes the government to see that they continue to support them. There, he needs to do that.
Thank you, Rich. I will. I'm
sure you will. I'm sure you will. There, it is a remarkable service, and you all should be really congratulated. Those who seek the people and give them a new start. And that's what I've got out of it. And I continue to spread the word because, you know, I can see how invaluable it is for people who once, you know, they fall into the category of their whole life changing at an elderly age are lost. There's no question that people need to know of these services and the benefit that they can give.
Yeah. So Richard, can you describe what are some of the benefits that have been there directly for you? Because we spoke a little bit about that. So how are you using Holdsworth's services? What's happening for you, and what difference is that making?
Well, I was fortunate enough that one of the people who come to me, he does exercises with me. He's I can say that he's a doctor, but not qualified yet, about to be qualified here. So he has motivated me. He's encouraged me. I've lost weight, thank God. He checks on me. He cares for me as such, far and beyond what I'm sure that these people do. And he's only been with me a month. And as I said, I really look forward to the motivation he's given me, and he gives me a push, which I need occasionally there when your life changes are made. You tread with trepidation in some cases, and he's compassionate, and that's and I feel secure, you know, to ask him how to do things. And that for me is very important at this stage when everything is changing around me. Yeah. And now I'm feeling motivated to do things, and I was feeling I was going backwards, and there was really no light above. Now I'm very, very happy, and I just hope he continues to stay with me, or somebody equally as good. And I congratulate you people for the people that you support us with.
I know Lewis sets a very high bar, Richard, doesn't he?
He certainly does. But the other girl, the other lass I had, who unfortunately, because of COVID, wasn't able to do, was equally as compassionate and caring. And we went out for a walk, and we did different. They took me to 2 appointments and so forth. So the range that they're able to do really is remarkable, and very fortunate that they can do these things. It's not just a question of coming in and doing one things. They care about seeing that your surroundings and all the rest of it are taken care of.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that.
And Richard, tell us a little bit more then about that that kind of individualization and personalization that happened for you.
The remarkable, the thing that I'm most fortunate and enjoy is I was going to exercise classes at one of the hospital facilities. There, you were pushed. It was too much often for me and all the rest of it. Here, you go at the right speed, and, I feel comfortable. There, it wasn't a question of, going and doing what you could manage. You were just told to do, this is what you did in the hour, and that was it. And the other thing is that most of those courses were usually about a maximum of 40 minutes. By the time you get there and back again, and one thing and another, your half day's gone, and here they come, there's plenty of time, and I feel relaxed and good after it and look forward to the next venture.
Fantastic. And Richard, just we've got 2 more minutes, and I'm really sorry, your video has gone off, Richard, but I don't know whether we want to risk fiddling with it and losing you altogether. But I have got one last question. Or what suggestions would you give to other people wanting to remain at home and in the community? Or what feedback would you want? Any other feedback or suggestions you'd want to give Holdsworth?
Well, I think firstly, as I said, only having the one experience of finding about Holdsworth at St Vincent's, and the girl there, as I said, I thank her every day for finding me, you people. I don't know what's happened there. Are you still there?
Yeah, yes. We can hear you, Richard. Yes. We just can't see you. So
I don't think she's acquainted with all your services. And I think that in the different clinics and so forth at the different hospitals, they have magazines such as the one that comes out monthly for the renal units at most hospitals, that acquaints them with what you can possibly offer them if they fall into the category. And I think you will be inundated with people. I really do think that that's what will happen.
That's great advice, and we absolutely recognise the importance of getting the word out there. And so we've got some surprises coming up in terms of our image and getting the word out there into the future, Richard. So
I'm sure too that the government would be very happy there that people such as myself and all the rest of it, who probably thought, oh well, probably it's a nursing home or in the immediate future, and places like that, and people who don't want to go to an institution or be institutionalised, this will prevent it in a lot of cases. I can think of many people, having been in the hospital business, who, if they had services such as this and wanted to stay home, could do so.
Yeah, and
it's got a multi-benefit.
Yes, so you really feel that it is creating that option and alternative.
It's an absolute essential service if it could be done. And I mean, if you asked me as an outsider before I knew anything about it, I would say the people wouldn't be able to get it, and especially the funding that you've got then people wouldn't think they'd be able to afford it. When you see all these home care places that are $60 plus an hour, and you know, and minimums and all the rest of it, and limited services, there, what you're offering is a hidden treasure.
Well, thank you very much, Richard. We really appreciate you taking the time to share your insights and experiences. Yeah, we certainly take on board that message about getting the word out there, and hopefully, yes, Dave Sharma's heard the message also loud and clear. Dave, we're all looking to you for the future.
I'm listening.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Richard.
Thank you.
Yeah, Richard, thank you. And it really validates how we feel here at Holdsworth, which is that Holdsworth is about our people. It's about our staff, and particularly those staff that are working directly with you, Richard, and people like you in people's homes. And that's, that's where the real quality is, and the relationships that are being built out in the community are really what Holdsworth is all about. So thank you so much, Richard. Really appreciate you sharing your time. We will shortly move now to the more formal part of our AGM. I just welcome Gabrielle Upton is here now. Gabrielle, New South Wales member for Vaucluse. Thanks for joining us and your ongoing support of Holdsworth.
Thank you, Ruth, and for joining you, and also our latest collaboration, which is around the HomeShare. So thank you for all the work you do and your team.
Thank you. Thanks, Gabrielle. So I will now, I will hand over to the chair of the Holdsworth board, Lynn Ainsworth, who will now go through, the more formal procedure of our AGM. Lynn, I'll hand over to you.
Lynn, you're on mute.
Yeah. I'll start all over again. I did say thanks to Ruth for the handover, but I also wanted to thank you all for joining us today. We weren't too sure how many people would be interested in coming online, but I think we're all desperate for whatever connection we can have with other people at the moment. So I was just saying, this is my first excursion beyond 5 kilometres for 4 months. So it's scary in some ways, but quite exciting. It felt like a real adventure coming to Holdsworth today. So thank you all. I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we're meeting on as well, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects to elders past and present and emerging, and a special welcome to any Aboriginal people who are here with us today. And I'd also just like to acknowledge our special guests. We have friends at three of government. Ian, thank you. And we are at the formal part of our presentation this afternoon. We come together at the end of each year to reflect and celebrate on what we've achieved in the past 12 months, and look forward to what's coming next. So we've got a combination of some formality and hopefully some relaxation as we listen to a couple of people share their thoughts as we go through our process. So welcome everyone. I would just like to acknowledge an apology from Helen Argyris, who will be joining us. I think Helen at the last minute was called into a meeting that she couldn't avoid through work, but she did say that she was going to join us as soon as she can. So I acknowledge that from Helen. When we sent out the agenda, we also sent out the minutes from last year, which again, a pretty formal record of what happened, but we do need to formally move them as a true record of that meeting. So would somebody from amongst our audience here, I'm not quite sure, maybe put your hand up or yell out to just the directors.
I'm happy to.
Alan Shell.
Alan, thank you. Would you like to move that the minutes from the last AGM are a true record?
Move that the minutes from the last AGM are a true record.
Thank you. And do we have a seconder?
Yeah, I'm happy to second, Lynn. It's Lucinda. Yeah.
Thank you. So we'll pass those as a true record of our last AGM, which was just on a year ago. The next item on our agenda is a brief report from me. I have prepared a report that is in our annual report, which is now published on the website, so I won't go through that chapter and verse. But I wanted to start and end with a few thank yous and then have some reflection in the midst of that. So I want to first of all thank Tali. Just as I came on, Tali, you were telling somebody how to change the host in Zoom, and I've never known how to do that. So I've learned something from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
That was excellent. And I also want to thank Richard for his willingness to share his experience of Holdsworth. You know, it's all very well, those of us who are engaged with Holdsworth, either as employees or those of us on the board, have this intrinsic sense of the value that Holdsworth adds to our community and to individual people that we support. But to hear it from somebody who is a recipient is a whole different ballgame. And I think that Richard summed it up in that he described our work as life-changing. And that's very, very significant. And I think we need to maintain sight of just how important the work is. And he also talked about the fact that through the work that Holdsworth does, we bring a lot of other resources into our community. And I think, you know, building the fabric of the community is just so important, and Holdsworth has a role to play there. And I think the other thing that Richard reminds us is that it doesn't matter what age or stage of life you're at, what your demographic is. At times, everyone needs a bit of a hand. And I think when you look at Holdsworth services, they do cross that very broad spectrum of our lives. And I'm very, very privileged to be part of the Holdsworth family. I'd also just like to start by thanking the staff, including the volunteers. Holdsworth has an amazing team of volunteers, particularly for the size of the organisation we are. And the staff is extraordinary. And I think there has been no more extraordinary time where staff have had to dig deep, to become resilient, to become creative than we have over the past 12 months. And I don't think I can add anything to what Richard said, except that he's identified the attributes of the work that we do. And that is about being compassionate, that we provide that safety and security that people need at whatever stage they're at, but most importantly, in a way that's tailored to meet their specific needs. And that motivation to keep on having a fulfilling life, which sometimes we can lose sight of. So I just want to thank and congratulate the staff. It doesn't matter what role you're in at Holdsworth, whether you're a backroom boy or a front room girl, then you're doing amazing work, and it's not always easy work. We know that, and certainly it hasn't been easy over this past period. So I absolutely thank you for that. Another thank you goes out to our partners in the community. We've got a whole range of partners, but certainly we have partners at federal, state and local government level. And I would call out Woollahra Municipal Council in particular, who have been supporters of Holdsworth and partners with us for more than 30 years. And that's an extraordinary partnership. And I think that has evolved more and more. They've entrusted to Holdsworth the amazing work of supporting the community in the ways that we do. So we value those partnerships, and we really look forward in the next year to cementing those and expanding and building on those partnerships. Just moving on to the year that was, we started the year and we ended the year with COVID. Who would have thought? I think at this time last year, we were just emerging, and we had this sense of optimism and positivity. We've come out of a really difficult time, and it was amazing to see how well we were bouncing back into action. And I think that was reflective of the trust that our community has. They knew that we were going to keep them safe. We knew that they were there when they were ready to come back and ready to roll. We didn't expect, I don't think anyone expected, to see what the Delta variant of COVID has done to our communities over the past 4 months. But I also know that we have continued to be able to provide support in all sorts of ways. And you've all heard the saying that necessity is the mother of invention. Well, I think it's well and truly alive at Holdsworth in the way that we've been able to continue to support people. There's no question that it's been a tough year just in terms of making ends meet, doing the things that we needed to do. I think we were fortunate to have the support from the federal government through the JobKeeper scheme to make sure that we could keep our staff. And that was really important when it came to that bounce back, because we could mobilise them really quickly and respond to people's needs really, really quickly. This past 4 months has been longer and harder. And I think because it was a second round, it seemed interminable, but we've seen the light at the end of the tunnel now, and hopefully we'll be back in business in the way that we're all accustomed to in just a few short weeks now. So we're all looking forward to that. But I think that Holdsworth goes from strength to strength. Notwithstanding all of those challenges, we managed to support more people, to attract more funding into our community more broadly. Holdsworth is a broker of some of that support, even though other providers might be providing the direct support. We're instrumental in making sure that people have got access to the funding and the support packages they need, whether it's NDIS or whether it's the home care packages, or the support that's required to support our play groups. So thank you all for your efforts during the year. It has been a remarkable year. I hope that we don't experience a year quite like that. We've been able to come out of it quite positively, and we've got some great ideas for the future that we're developing in consultation with our council partners in particular. Back to the thank yous, I do want to say a thank you to my fellow directors. I took over the role of chair only in March this year, having served on the board for a number of years prior to that. And it certainly is a great privilege. All of the directors of Holdsworth bring extraordinary skills and experience, but most of all, they bring passion. And we see that every time we get together, and the enthusiasm for the work is really tangible in the room. So I thank them both for their efforts across a whole range of committees. We've got people with finance experience doing great things. We've got people who have experience within the sector working through our social impact committee, and then those of us who are kind of just managers doing other bits and pieces around the fringe. So yeah, I really appreciate that. One of the great improvements, I think, during the course of the year in response to identified need was the establishment of the Clinical Governance Committee. And we're really fortunate to have Dr. Alan Shell join our board and provide leadership over that clinical governance team. But most importantly, I think, is the work that is done behind the scenes through our registered nurse and people on the ground, all of those who visit in people's homes, who have an eye out for what's happening. And so we can pick up on risks and problems and get in there early and make sure that we can support the right kind of intervention for people as they need it. So I really think that that has been one of our great achievements during the course of the year. And I thank everyone who contributes to that, which means every single person who writes an incident report during the course of their visit to somebody. It's a great effort. I do also want to thank, even in her absence, Helen Argyris. Helen is the outgoing chair. Helen served on the board for 6 years and was chair for much of that time, brought extraordinary experience and rigour and insight, and was also a passionate local. So, you know, she really had the entire package. Helen agreed to stay on the board for a period of time, certainly this next 12 months or so, partly to hold my hand till the training wheels come off, and but also just to continue with some of the great work that she's been doing. So I do want to acknowledge the commitment and the effort that Helen has made over that six and a half years now. And I know that she will be an ongoing supporter of Holdsworth, irrespective of whether she is sharing the board or not. And then we also have another significant change. Ruth, our CEO, is departing Holdsworth. Ruth had a conversation with us quite some time ago about her career aspirations. You know, she is at the peak of her career. She has lots of opportunities ahead of her and felt that it was time to start exploring. And we certainly encouraged that. But to her great credit, when COVID hit, Ruth agreed that she would stay put and really see us through what was a tremendously challenging time, really to try and keep the ship steady. And she did an amazing job of that. But just when we thought we had emerged out of COVID and then were plunged back in, it was time for Ruth to consider what her next career phase might look like. And she's been fantastic in staying on and helping us as we bring on a new CEO who has only commenced this week, yesterday, in fact. So, you know, with less than 48 hours in the chair, he's going to be talking to us in a little while. So I'll just take the opportunity to welcome Jay Malone to the CEO role. Jay will tell you a little bit about his background, but I can assure you from the conversations that we've had through the recruitment process, and it was a very extensive search, that Jay is very well equipped to take over the role, take over the reins from Ruth. I should say, just in relation to that process, you know, we had, I think it was 132 people express interest in being part of Holdsworth's leadership. And that's pretty amazing. And so many people knew of the reputation of Holdsworth, and that was the thing that had attracted them in the first place. So that's a pretty amazing recognition, I think. And I'm pretty sure, even though we are going to be doing quite a lot of work in that sort of marketing and promotion space under the leadership of Juju in the next little while, I'm thinking that Richard is our best PR machine. So thank you, Richard, for that. So yes, welcome to Jay. But most importantly, I think it's an opportunity for us to come together and to say goodbye to Ruth, who will finish at the end of this week, and say that she's done an extraordinary job. I think everyone who has been working at Holdsworth during that time will recognise that there has been a need for change, and that Ruth has steered a lot of that change, a lot of the innovation. I know that she has been really well supported by a great leadership team, and I thank all of the members of that team for the incredible work that they do. But it is time to say goodbye to Ruth, and I'm just thinking, I'm not sure, I think we can either do an on the screen clap, or you can just clap Ruth goodbye. And before I finish, just while everyone is here, we do have just a little presentation for Ruth. I'm not quite sure how this is going to go down on Zoom, and I think I probably have to have a mask on again. So I'll do that just standing up from where I am. So Ruth, maybe you can come over here, and we'll see if we can somehow keep in the screen. Look, we are so grateful and so thankful, and we hope that you go away with wonderful memories and keep in touch with Holdsworth.
Oh, so I certainly will. Thank you so much.
Sure, you can see those.
Beautiful.
They are amazing.
They are amazing. Thank you so much. A little gift, particularly from the board, which you can open at your leisure.
And again, something that I hope you'll look at daily and say, oh yes, I remember Holdsworth. Yeah.
Oh, no, thank you so much, Lynn, and thank you, everyone. I'll say a few words in a little bit. Thank you.
So that was really, I might take this off again. That was really all I wanted to say about the year that's been. Just that it has been an extraordinary year. I think we've got an exciting year ahead. We developed a new strategic plan in this year to guide us over the next 3 years. And one of the things that we asked the candidates for the new CEO role was to look at that strategic plan and tell us what they thought and whether they felt it was something they could grab with both hands and run with. And Jay certainly expressed that. So we are looking forward to a really positive time, but that's not to say that we won't miss Ruth. So on that note, I will conclude my report, and I just advocate for you to go online, have a look at the annual report, which is published. I had a look at it, and again, it's so heartwarming. It's so beautifully presented. Thank you, Juju. And you really, really get a strong sense of the life-changing impact. Don't forget those words. Thank you, Richard. That's going to be my catchphrase from here on in. So now we get to something that's a little more pedestrian, and that's.
Do you have to move a second? Sorry to be the.
Oh, that's not on our list.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's just to move and accept the annual report.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yep, sorry, we've just skipped off something off my running sheet. Yes, so we have published our annual report. We need to move and accept that. So perhaps if I could invite some of our directors to support that, or our senior staff.
I'm happy to.
Thanks, Andy. And I heard somebody else, Khan's going to be.
I'm happy to as well.
Thank you. It is a beautiful report. And I thank everyone who contributed to that. Annual report writing is jolly hard work, because you've got to try and get all of the really, really important things down in a way that's both accessible and interesting to people and manageable in terms of page length, because there's such a big story to tell. So thank you for that. Now I am going to hand over to Andy Hobbs. Andy is the chair of our Audit and Risk Committee, and he's just going to give a very brief report around our financial position, and then we will formally accept the financial statements for the past year. So Andy.
Hi Lynn, thanks very much. Just doing a quick test that you can actually hear me.
Yep.
It's a good start. Hi everybody, yeah, and Andy Hobbs, very proud to be chair of the Audit and Risk Committee and member of the board. I will be brief, as Lynn has hinted at me. First of all, I just want to start with a thanks similar to Lynn. Big thanks to Ruth, Andrea and the team for some very strong management of the financials of Holdsworth as well. It's obviously a key part of running any organisation, and Holdsworth, for a relatively small organisation, has some pretty complex financials because of all the different work that we do and all the different income that we therefore gather. And that is a difficult task at the best of times, and these have been challenging times to manage the financials of an organisation. So real credit to them that we are in a good position, and that the difficult times that we've had in the last year or two have been coped with really well. All credit to them. So just by way of a brief summary of the financials for the year that's just passed, as you'd expect, clearly COVID has affected those financials. But as Lynn said, the position is one that you can take a lot of confidence from and a lot of positivity from. Overall, the organisation has been really resilient to the financial shock, as well as the service shock that's been put on us by the pandemic, and that's because of the support of the many different funders we have, and because we have so many. We have that diversity of income that has allowed the organisation to respond really strongly, and with the flexibility that Lynn's been describing. What has been very significant for the year that just passed is the support from the federal government. Most notably JobKeeper. The organisation received over 1.6 million of funding from the federal government, which in the context of an organisation that typically gets about 6 million a year in funding is really a huge deal, and has really helped us be able to survive and continue to provide services through that difficult period. The net result of all of that has been a slightly unusual position for us, which is that we have delivered a relatively large surplus of around $900,000. Now, typically we always try and deliver a surplus. That's a very sensible thing for any organisation to do. It's good financial management practice, but it was a little bit larger than we expected this year because of the particular way that JobKeeper worked for us. So as a consequence, we've decided absolutely the right thing to do is to set aside 700,000 of that surplus for a new reserve that will support services into the future and will really help us as we continue the phase we're in now, going into the reopening of the economy and continuing to deliver the services as we hopefully all bounce back from COVID. We would expect to use that money either to make up for shortfalls in other income streams as we go through that transition period, and or to be able to invest in new services or to change services where needed to respond to the way that the world is changing. So overall, similar to Lynn, really strong position to find ourselves in. Clearly, it's been a difficult time financially, but I think we're grateful for the position we find ourselves in, and we'll continue to work to keep the organisation strong and to keep the finances supporting all the great work that Holdsworth does. Now, I suspect somebody will tell me there's some procedures we need to do. Do I, Lynn, need somebody to move and second the financial report?
I'm happy to move it, Andy.
I'm happy to second that, Andy. So, and I can't see any objections, so that we'll accept the financial statements.
Good. Thank you.
2021. And if I could just also endorse the work of the Audit and Risk Committee, but in particular, Andrea Bannock, who is our CFO. Angie's done an amazing job in the past 12 months of reorganising our financial reporting and supporting that Finance Audit and Risk Committee to make sure that we can easily understand where we're going and what's happening. And it has been quite a super effort. And there have been a whole raft of other complications in that period too, just because of COVID. So thanks so much, Andrea, for that. The next item on our agenda is a report by the CEO. This year, we're referring to her as the outgoing CEO as she's leaving, because we have a small item for the incoming CEO. It's not too often that you have two CEOs. And Ruth was telling me when I arrived this morning that there was a bit of confusion when she was introducing herself and Jay, both as CEOs, who's who in the zoo here. But so I'll just hand over to Ruth to present her report.
Thank you. Thanks, Lynn. Yeah, thank you. This year that gone by has most certainly been a year like no other. I think we'll all agree. The pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic has really challenged us, but Holdsworth has throughout stayed really committed to our purpose of supporting people to stay living at home and as active participants of their communities as much as possible. We're used to a really personal approach at Holdsworth. So the restrictions and the lockdowns, they really did challenge the way we're used to working and I guess our culture at Holdsworth. So we looked to our values to guide us and help us make decisions. So those values are trust, kindness, openness, and independence. And I think the first that comes to mind is trust, and Lynn mentioned it. I think Holdsworth is very much entrusted by our community. We put the safety of our community members as the utmost priority in our decision making over the last year, 18 months. We have always and will continue to take all precautions required to limit the risk of COVID spreading through our community. I guess what that did mean, unfortunately, was the need to cease or pause some of our long-standing and really much loved programs and activities, our group programs and activities. And I just want to acknowledge that because that has been hard, that's been tough for our community, not just those participating, but staff, volunteers, everyone. I mean, it's been hard. But again, it's been about keeping the trust of our community and doing what we need to do in the short term so that we can be here in the long term. The other really important value that I've seen throughout Holdsworth over the past year has been kindness. I think we've all experienced in our own way the challenges of being isolated from family and friends, and a lot of our community feeling that disconnection from, activities of everyday life. So we've been really committed to stay in touch, to be that person that's calling regularly, to reach out, to check in on each other, and treat each other with kindness. I think I've seen that and been so impressed by that over the past year. The other one is openness. And I think with the huge disruption, we did see that as an opportunity to change and look at how we can do things better. This year has been a huge year for internally for Holdsworth. I want to acknowledge the strength and resilience of all of our staff and volunteers. We transformed the organisation from, I guess, service teams into a network of local teams. And the end goal is, and we're seeing it realised, is teams of Holdsworth staff and volunteers that are really embedded in local communities and neighbourhoods, really to the end that they are able to work more closely with people and deliver more meaningful outcomes together with those people. It hasn't been easy for staff. There's been a lot of change to take on board when there's been, such disruption in our broader lives. So I really thank them, and I hope you feel the success, and you should celebrate the success of the year gone. Independence. I think the other thing I've seen this year is that more than ever, we've really focused on supporting people to know and exercise their right to choose. And along with that comes a responsibility to do our best to provide that personalised approach, that personalised support, that individual response to what people need. And I've seen amazing outcomes and staff really working hard to do that despite all of the restrictions and limitations. So as Lynn mentioned, in June this year, I announced that after 7 years, I've decided that it was time for me to move on from Holdsworth. I'm just so grateful for my time at Holdsworth. It's genuinely has been such a privilege to be part of such a close and personal community. I came from a very different environment in my work life, and I really have been felt so lucky to have met so many fantastic people and have been very touched by the incredible work that people do here at Holdsworth and the amazing people in the community that I've been able to meet. It really has enriched my life a lot. I want to thank everyone really who has been part of my journey at Holdsworth. Lynn, you mentioned having two CEOs in a room, and I see Michael Ryan there too. So I think we've got something, you might say 3 generations of, while you're here, thank you, Michael, for incredible mentoring of my initial years at Holdsworth. And but I want to thank every staff member and volunteer at Holdsworth for the important work that you do with such dedication. It's really impressed me, and it's something that I will keep with me forever. It's been just an absolute pleasure working alongside all of you, so thank you. Special thanks to the management team for your incredible support. I've been so lucky to work with this team of creative and insightful women, and I know that you'll continue to lead the organisation with Jason from strength to strength. So finally, a huge thank you to the board of Holdsworth. You entrusted me with the leadership of the organisation 4 years ago, and I've just really appreciated your support. And as Lynn said, it's an incredible board with amazing knowledge and expertise to share. And I think Holdsworth has always been very fortunate with the high calibre board that we have and the commitment that is there. Particular thanks to Helena Giris and now Lynn. Thank you so much for your strong leadership of the board and really your generous donation of time to me. I'm very, very grateful for that. And it's really been an amazing experience for me. And yeah, a great opportunity for me to learn and grow. So thank you very much. Look, I leave Holdsworth in one sense happily, because I really do know that Holdsworth is in such a strong, solid position. I know we've, as you said, have amazing strategy, fantastic staff, and you know, after 2 days with Jay, I feel I know the amazing, you know, the incredible process that the board went through to find a new CEO, and I feel really confident in the future of Holdsworth, and that allows me to leave, you know, with much peace of mind. So, but thank you, everyone.
So as Ruth hands over the baton, I'm also going to hand over the microphone so that you can hear a little bit from Jason Malone, Jay, as he likes to be called. It was a perfect opportunity, really, given that Jay was just about to commence, that we had the opportunity to bring some of our community together. And it'll be great for you to meet Jay so that you can put a name to a face in the future. Jay's just going to introduce himself a little bit, but I thought it was a good chance for him to tell us a little bit about, I guess, what attracted him to Holdsworth and how he sees taking up the helm. So I'll hand over to Jay.
Thanks, Lynn. Hello, everyone, and I'm really excited to be here, and I'm really excited to join this wonderful organisation. As Lynn said, this is day 2 for me, so I'm still really trying to get my head around everything. So I thought I'd take a quick opportunity to tell you a little bit about me. I'm married and I've got 3 kids, and I live locally. I've worked in public, private organisations, and more recently in the not-for-profit or for-purpose space, in aged care as CEO, and prior to that as CFO. Prior to that, I've worked in steel, banking, manufacturing, distribution, and technology, so quite a diverse background. But the not-for-profit and for-purpose space is really where my passion is, and to be able to work in an organisation like Holdsworth in my local community is really something that, you know, sits really well with my values. I also sit on a number of not-for-profit boards. I look forward to continuing to do the great work that Holdsworth does in our communities, and to delivering on the new strategic plan, which Lynn mentioned before, and it's really exciting. I'm looking forward to New South Wales, like you all would be, coming out of lockdown. It's not far to go now. I'm looking forward to meeting all the staff and participants, and I had the pleasure of meeting some today. I did a home cuisine run with Tara, which was great. So I got to meet some of our staff and our participants, which was really good. I'd like to really thank Ruth for making me feel really welcome, and for doing a really great handover, which obviously the board planned. I'd like to thank the board for the faith that you've shown in me. It has been an extensive process over many months, and that, you know, that really makes me feel confident that it's a good fit for both of us. So I'm looking forward, and I do have big shoes to fill with Ruth. So finally, I'm looking forward to meeting everyone and working with you all. So thank you very much to everyone. I look forward to working.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. Jay spoke about the length of time it took. Some of that was COVID induced, but other was that we did go through a really rigorous process. You know, we don't want to hand over Holdsworth to just anyone. And so there were multiple meetings and discussions of different kinds. We had input from the senior leaders, and output from Jay in response to that input from the senior leaders. We had walks around the block with Helen, who I can see has joined us, because that was the only way that people could get together in any sort of physical sense. So it has been quite a process, but we're glad that Jay has now landed here and is ready to roll. And I'm very grateful for Ruth for staying on and helping us with a very smooth transition. So we're looking forward to the future. I see that Helen has just joined us. I do just want to reiterate the thanks that I shared with the group for the wonderful work that you've done over such a long period of time. Thank you so much, Helen. And can I just let you know, if you haven't already seen, there are some really, really lovely messages in the chat. So make sure that you take the time to just have a little peek at that. And thank you to those people who have put down some really wonderful sentiments, and we'll make sure that we capture those as well. Back to business after some pleasantries. We do, under our constitution, have a turnover of our directors every year. A number of our directors need to resign, and they are available for re-election if they choose to be. And this year we have 2 of our directors. So even though they're relatively, 3 of our directors, even though they're relatively recent directors in a couple of instances, we just have this rolling process. So this year we have Lucinda Reagan, Alan Shell and Helena Giris, who are all agreed that they would retire, but they're all seeking to be re-elected, and they have been nominated by myself and seconded by Andy. So I would like globally to move a motion that each of those directors is reappointed to the board of Holdsworth. Just wave if you agree. No one's waving. Ah, that's better. Thank you. Wonderful. Okay. So thank you, Alan, Lucinda and Helen for agreeing to stay on and commit to the board. We're so lucky to have you. Okay. Let me see where we're up to. The auditors. I did want to just make mention of the auditors. Andy's presented the accounts for the year. This last financial year, we appointed new auditors. And is that a question, Louise? I will take questions later, or maybe you're just trying out the way to interact with us. So we had new auditors appointed, and I think the appointment of new auditors can be quite disruptive because they've got their own processes and they bring a different lens, which sometimes turns up challenges. I think this year the audit went pretty smoothly for having a new audit firm in, and they worked very collaboratively with us, and we were pleased with the outcomes. Are very helpful, and I think it helped us to reach a new benchmark in terms of our financial accountability. So we're proposing to appoint those auditors again for the forthcoming year. I just wonder, Andy, would you like to move a motion that the auditors, I think they're called National Audit, be appointed?
Yeah, absolutely, very much.
National Audits Group.
Them again. Yep, happy to move.
I'm happy to second, Lynn.
And I think Helen's going to second that. Okay.
Second.
And unless there's anyone opposed to that, then we can say that we've resolved to appoint those auditors. And we thank them for their help, particularly given the challenge we had in terms of working through the various additional bits and pieces of revenue that came through this year as a result of the various COVID grants. So thank you for that. Our final business item actually comes under the heading of other business. So you probably don't have the details, but again, it's a pretty pedestrian thing. So in addition to acting as CEO, Ruth has also been company secretary. So Holdsworth is a company limited by guarantee. And we have a secretary who pretty much does the administrative background, so supporting the board, but also any of the requirements of the Australian Charities and Not-for-Profits Commission and some of those other regulatory bodies that we have. So with Ruth moving on and Jay coming into that role, our final item of business is just to move a motion to appoint Jay also as the company secretary, and then that we can update the formal records. So I'm just wondering if one of our directors might like to move that motion.
I'm happy to move it, Lynn. Lucinda.
Thanks, Lucinda. Yeah. And a seconder?
I'm happy to second.
Thanks, Helen. Okay.
I think that was Khan. I think that was Khan, Lynn, I think.
Sorry, I'm just struggling to hear you, Helen.
That was Khan who seconded that motion. Khan Nelson. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes the formalities of our AGM. So again, I thank you all for taking the time out to share some time, find out a little bit more about the organisation and what we've been up to and where we're going over the next 12 months. I just thought we might take a few minutes for any comments or questions. There is a function where you can put your hand up. I can't see everyone on one page, so if I don't see you, then you can always unmute yourself and just yell. Okay, looks like everything's been said that needs to be said. I'm sure that over the next couple of days, there are going to be opportunities for different groups of people to catch up with Ruth and say goodbye. I know she's out and about, although it's still all a bit remote. But I know that we send her our best wishes, and I think she's going to a great organisation that I know she'll have a passion for. So on that note, then I will declare our annual general meeting for this year closed, and I look forward to seeing you again this time next year, if not before, particularly once we get back to COVID normal. I know that myself and my fellow directors are keen to get out and share some time with you during the course of the year. So hopefully we'll catch up with at least some of you. So thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.